Hey everybody, it's Miss Cynthia here with our very first video lesson, and I'm going to have to ask you to be patient with me as I learn how to teach without a class. It feels a bit strange, and this is not my first take. I've watched a couple and they all seem a bit silly and strange, and so I think I might just have to go with silly and strange and uncomfortable for now. But anyway, I am here on my porch. You can see it's raining in the background. The river's back there. My dogs have been busy chasing geese today, so if you hear any squawking or barking or shenanigans in the background, that is what is happening, and I apologize. Obviously, this is a strange time in our history. As a people, we've never really been called to do anything quite like this. I know most of you are spending most of your days and time at home. I know that right now a lot of things have been postponed or put on hold, and we are all kind of pulling in order to stay safe and stop the spread of the coronavirus. So when I found out that we were going to be learning from home for the next weeks or months, I thought that one of the first things I wanted to do was for each of us to create a journal. I think that 5 or 15 or 50 years from now, societies will look back on this moment in history and have questions about what we were feeling and thinking, what was happening, what daily life looked and felt like for those of us who were trying to stop the spread of this illness and trying to stay safe at home. So one of the things that I would like you to do today is to find a notebook or sketchbook or a journal or a stack of loose papers laying around and create a journal for yourself. You will be writing in it all of our school days. I found a sketchbook upstairs in my house, and I decorated it with a Southwest Virginia sticker because I love where we live. And I spent some time this morning already writing and recording some different thoughts and things in my journal that I'll share with you in just a few minutes. So why should we keep a journal? I have a little colorful handout here that I will be emailing to your parents. There are lots of reasons why journal writing can be a useful tool. It helps us to write about our experiences, thoughts, and feelings, and it can help us to better understand our world and our life in the moment. A journal is our own personal history book, so that when we are older, we can look back on our journal entries and have a better understanding of how we were feeling, and we can remember events in greater detail. Journals can help us to become better writers. It's a great way to learn to express yourself in writing and to get daily writing practice. They are a wonderful place to record creative ideas and inspiration for stories or songs or drawings or even recipes for those of you who love to cook. Journaling can be a way for us to set goals, especially right now when all the days start to feel the same. It can be important to make a checklist of tasks or of maybe a few goals of things that you would like to accomplish in the coming days or weeks. And it's also a wonderful place to record the people and experiences and things that we are grateful for. Right now, it can feel like a lot of things are being put on hold or taken away from us, but being mindful of what we have to still be grateful for is an excellent way for us to feel happier and healthier and less anxious about what's going on. So when you create your journal, it is your space to record your thoughts and feelings, and some things that you may want to include is just a description of your day. What did you do? How did you feel? Who were you with? Things that you're grateful for, as I mentioned before. Be specific. Maybe you're thankful for a call that you had with a friend or a relative. Maybe you're grateful for a game that you've been playing with your brother. Don't mind my dogs barking in the background. Another great thing is to observe your world around you and write that in your journal. Maybe you can spend some time outside in nature and record some of the plants or animals or sounds. You could do it inside as well and describe your bedroom in written detail and then draw a picture. It can be a great creative space to write poems or stories or picture books or songs. You can write plans for something you want to build. Maybe you want to make something with your Kiva blocks or Legos, and you can make a sketch in your journal. You can write goals and tasks or checklists. And also, it's a good place to record quotes or song lyrics that you see that you want to save to maybe reflect on later. I'll just take a minute and share some of my entries with you. So this was my very first entry. I wrote it this morning when I was sitting here on the porch. It says 3/24/20. The world feels strange right now, both familiar and unknown. We have been at home, aside from a trip to school or the grocery store, for 11 days. Home is my happy place where I feel safe and content and at peace. Still, it seems strange that home is where I must be right now. Yesterday, the governor announced that schools will be closed for the rest of the year. Stores are closing, movie theaters and restaurants are shutting down temporarily to slow the spread of coronavirus. I'm trying not to watch the news too much and to stop feeling anxious. For now, I will focus on what is good, what I can do for my little place on the map, and how I can make the coming weeks a time of joy and peace for my family. And then at the bottom, I wrote some things that I'm grateful for specifically today. One being my family, another being all of the people who are hard at work for us still, the doctors and nurses and pharmacists and grocery store clerks and truck drivers. And I'm also thankful for books because I'm reading a lot these days. Another thing I did is I created a space where I can include some quotes that I find that speak to me in that moment. And so this says, I have decided to be happy because it is good for my health, Voltaire. And so over the coming weeks, as I find quotes that I want to remember, I can include them on this page. I also taped in this little sheet. I made this last week when we had been home for 5 or 6 days and not traveling over spring break. It looks a lot like the things that made me happy list that we made at school one day. This is things that bring me joy. And these are all things that I can still do even though we're at home and we're not traveling or going to some of our favorite hikes or restaurants. I can go outside or play in the creek. I can read picture books to my kids. I can learn to draw something, play guitar, listen to music, play bananagrams. I can look at old pictures or drink coffee on my porch, have a family dance party, or work in the garden. I was able to come up with a pretty long list of things that I love to do that bring me joy and that I can do from home. So sometime soon we'll create a list like this in your journals for ideas of things you can do if you're starting to feel bored at home. Another thing that I included, these are some lyrics to a song that I actually started working on several years ago, and I hadn't played guitar in a long time, and so I gotten it out recently, and I was working on these lyrics and tweaking them a little bit. I also have some goals of some things I'd like to do over the coming days. I want to read a book called The Water Dancer, finish reading a book called The Dutch House. I'm going to be working on schoolwork and lessons. I want to learn to play one new song on the guitar, spend time outside every day, and I want to learn to draw a goose. If you look down here, you can see why I added that to my to-do list. I've been seeing lots of geese flying overhead every single day. They wake me up early in the morning, and I want to be able to draw a goose so I can record some of those observations in my journal. So one thing that I want us to be mindful of when we're writing in our journals every day is stretching out our ideas and our thoughts with descriptive words. We practiced this some at school before we left for break, but I want you to think about if you are 60 years old and you find a journal that you wrote when you were 8 or 9 or 10, if it said, March 24th, 2020, I woke up, I went outside. That would be pretty underwhelming. So I want you to do your best to stretch out those thoughts and use adjectives to describe what the things look like and feel like around you. Here I made some little examples. So the first says, I woke up. The second, when I expanded upon that, I woke up later than usual. It was almost 10 and everyone else had finished breakfast hours ago. So that's a lot more detail and description, is more interesting. The second example, I went outside. I went outside and threw a tennis ball to my dog, Bailey. It was cold and wet from the rain, and he kept stealing the ball and running away. Bailey's really horrible at playing fetch. But, so those are some examples of how you can stretch out those thoughts and make your journal entries more descriptive and more interesting. So I'm going to be emailing some handouts, some information home to your parents on our journal writing, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, what your thoughts are, what you're creating at home. If you have a piece of writing, I would encourage you to email it to me. Have your parents text me a picture. If you write a new song, send me a video. I just love to stay connected with you guys and to feel like we're still a community, even though we are all at home right now. So let's see, I don't see any geese or dogs down there right now, but I hope to see you guys soon. And until then, let's make the most of this and do our best to learn and grow during this season. Bye, everybody.